I love taking pictures in the rain, and I was up at Seattle, and it was raining, and the rain was creating all of these interesting reflections. And so I set up, and when this guy walked into the frame, I was so excited. I held my breath, and I took a picture right when he was in the middle of the frame. So with this image, really it's about, at least for me, this guy and his presence here in this context. So what we're going to do is take a look at how we can improve the light in order to bring out this feature of the photograph. And in order to do that, we'll use curves and masking. Well, first, let's clean a few things up. So we'll click on our adjustment layer icon, and here we're going to click and drag down to darken this just a ton. Next, we'll press Command or Control I to invert the mask. Then we'll grab our brush tool. We'll paint with white. We want a nice soft edge brush, not too big. And the opacity we'll bring up a little bit there, somewhere about 40%. Next, we're just going to start to paint over some of the areas that are too bright. In this case, these cars here. I don't want these cars to be a point of interest, so I'm going to go ahead and click and paint over these, allowing this adjustment to come through in this area of the photograph. I'm also going to darken up some of this over here as well. And then this area too. Again, just working through this, trying to darken up some of these areas so that I can bring more of the focus to the subject, which is the person walking through this scene. So as I make these little darkening adjustments, they're all going to be subtle, but nonetheless important in setting the stage for some of my next adjustments. Okay, well now that we've done that, let's work on our character here. So we'll click on the adjustment layer icon. We'll choose curves. This time we're going to brighten it up, just turn up the lights there quite a bit. Then press Command or Control I to invert. From here we'll grab a brush again. We'll paint with white, but a little bit lower opacity, down to 30% I think will be nice. We want to just start to bring in some light into these areas. I really want this light to point towards him, so I'm going to make my brush a little smaller. I'm going to bring in a little bit of a directional light, just painting my brush strokes again towards him, bringing in more and more light into him. Also this road, kind of lighting up these reflections here, so it's all leading towards our guy here. All right, well that's looking good for our first adjustment, bringing a little bit more of the focus to the center of the frame. Let's make one more very similar to that. Click on the adjustment layer icon, choose curves, and again brighten this up quite a bit. Then press Command or Control I. Here with my brush, I'll go ahead and increase the opacity and increase my brush size by pressing the right bracket key, and I'll paint with white. And again, just painting around this guy here. It's kind of fun to have him in the frame. And then lower my opacity just till I get it just where I want it. All right, let's take a look. Here we have before and then, now after. Really significant change, really changing the overall mood and point of the photograph just by making a few small adjustments. And I want to dial these in so they're just right. So I'll go to my mask panel, increase the feather, soften those brush strokes. And I'm going to do this on all of these layers just to soften things up a bit. And I think that's looking really nice. Here we have our overall image before and then after, simply using curves and masking in order to work with light. And part of the trick with all of this, of course, is starting to notice things. As we look at our images, we want to think about, okay, what does this image need? What is this image about? How then can I use these adjustments in order to accomplish my vision for a photograph?